Good afternoon and welcome to the latest episode of Freeworld News. Just going to start off by talking a bit about what's happening in California with regard to the drought. A series of shade balls have been released and laid down on the ground to fill the reservoir to conserve water in LA. So basically we're talking a total of 96 million black shade polythene balls now cover the water in the reservoir in Selmar in California, is how you pronounce it, basically to protect against evaporation. Now that's kind of an interesting technique, isn't it?
Yeah, I've seen something a bit like it in China where they put, I saw a field of what appeared to be rocks, and they had placed each rock, so they gave a little bit of shade to a seedling. So I've seen that kind of thing, but never on this kind of scale. And do have a look at the picture of that. It's quite oh, that's what it reminds me of, those kiddies playground things.
So yeah, exactly, the ball kind of, the ball pools. So scroll down on the website and you can see some pictures.
But what's interesting now, and actually we're pulling in, the 2015 crop of almonds is being harvested, and of course they're saying a lot of the nuts are spoilt by drought damage. But behind all this is a longer 11-year cycle story, and that's El Nino.
So forecasters have warned the winters that El Nino could be historically strong. This is why it's nicknamed Bruce Lee. Huge water changes, partly related to the increased warmth in the Pacific Ocean in the last 3 months. What we're going to see how this is going to affect California.
El Nino it's an exception in terms of weather phenomena. It's fairly regular in cycle, and it's got a definition, which is a testable definition, and that's the temperature of the Pacific Ocean. If the Pacific Ocean goes more than 1 degree above the average, it's an El Nino event, and there's undoubtedly an El Nino event. It's heading towards, the current reading is 1.7 degrees. And if it goes over 2, then that's a very good predictor of a strong El Nino year. So what happens in a strong El Nino year? Well, last time we had mudslides in California. We had a huge amount of torrential rain on the western side of America. So as far as the nuts world goes, it's a very significant fact. We will see what they're expecting in Bolivia is a lot of rain in November, which will make for an early harvest. But then this rain will continue all the way through to the end of March, and maybe increase in the end of March, and that will mean flooding. So we might have a double whammy. It's a bit like the year before last, I think it was, maybe the year before that, where the nuts come early, you race out and get them, but then you have to you come back to the city and then send out the boats again. But you can't send out the boats again. You can't bring the nuts back into Riber Alta to dry down, and essentially you lose the harvest because the nuts all rot. So that's what we can expect from a strong El Nino event if that's where we get to, and we'll know whether we're going to get there. This will happen, like say November to March. If the water temperature gets 2 degrees above by the time we get to December, and it's already up to 1.7, we could have an event which was as strong as 1997.
Surely this is intricately related to global warming and climate change.
Well, this has nothing to do with that, because this is a well-defined event. Let's not get dragged into statistics of that, but I think it's difficult to even say whether there is significant global warming going on. This is a completely different thing. This is an 11-year cycle.
Yep.
And as I say, the predictor is the temperature in the Pacific, and it's probably the most predictable weather event from the antecedent condition.
So just to go on to the second point here, you mentioned something about scams earlier.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody at the start of this week from Eastern Europe who'd lost a truck full of walnuts and prunes and I just asked around. I was trying to find out about an event which is described in Doko's almond report here, which is something that's happened in Dubai, and somebody has escaped with 80 million dollars worth of liquidity, but I can't find out very much about that.
Okay.
What I have found is that this scam, which happened to a friend of mine, where they lost this container of walnuts against a supposed sale to Waitrose. And I was actually talking about the other thing to one of the brokers and said, "Oh, but did you hear the one about the German company which lost a truck full of blanched almonds also to a Waitrose order?"
Yeah.
Now, what's happening is that the crooks are buying all this stuff on the strength of having an email address which is either the same as or very similar to a supermarket thing. In the last year, I've seen 2 of these for Tesco, 1 of these for Morrison's. Of course, it's nothing to do with the supermarkets themselves. These are just the guys using principal's identity as a way of swindling people out of goods. It does seem that people throw caution to the winds when they see these names and just assume that they must be for real, even though they're buying bulk or whatever. So I think over the last year, I've heard of myself personally of at least 6 of these things. And it makes you wonder how much of the scamming is going on. If they're doing it in such a niche commodity, such as walnuts, prunes, hazelnuts, etc. How much of there must be scams for things like phones and easily tradable high-value items.
So we know that scams are happening all over the world, and part of the nature of a scam is that people don't know about it. So I mean, to ask a question like how many scams are happening around the world in whatever industry you're in, food, phones, electronics, anything, is you're going to get different statistics
But
the way to deal with
here's what you can do. You can do the first thing that you can do when you get this is find out where the delivery address is, and Google Earth it. Go and have a look. Go and have a look at where the guy's office is. Go and have a look at where the delivery point is. The Tesco one we saw was actually a furniture warehouse. Do the background research. We're not saying that it's all garbage.
Okay, I'm gonna have to stop you there. All right, thanks very much.